In 1971, the Supreme Court held a case between the United States of America and the New York Times. The government was trying to censor some of the information that the Times wished to release to the public, and in doing so, they violated the rights within the First Amendment, stating that all citizens have the freedom of speech and the freedom of press. So the real argument in this case was whether the First Amendment is an absolute right. This means that no matter the circumstances, a citizen shall have their First Amendment right. But before I go any further really into the case, you need to know about the Pentagon Papers. So the Pentagon Papers were classified files about the U.S.-Vietnam relations and the history of the U.S. involvement with their military in Vietnam for about 30 years, frankly. And so the Pentagon Papers were released by a man named Daniel Ellsberg. And so he released them to the New York Times, which were displayed on the front page for all to see. And keep in mind that at the time, people in the United States were very against the war, and one of the troops were moved from Vietnam. So exposing this, revealed a lot about the government in saying that the Times article said that the Pentagon Papers demonstrated that President Lyndon Johnson and his administration systematically lied not only to the public but also to the Congress. So in response to this created a huge tension between the citizens and the government officials. So ultimately, the U.S. government sued the New York Times for exposing secret information and threatening national security. In court, the United States claimed that exposing the Pentagon files was a threat to national security, and that the First Amendment does not guarantee absolute freedom of press, especially when a nation's security is involved, and even more when a nation is at war. Chief Justice Warren Burger claimed that the First Amendment right itself is not absolute, and also that the First Amendment does not protect illegally acquired secret articles. However, the New York Times countered by saying that the First Amendment is an absolute right, and that freedom of press goes for anybody. Also, they said that national security was not an issue, and that the United States failed to show how the Pentagon Papers were a threat to their national security. Also, the Times claimed that with regards to the government secrecy, they called it anti-democratic. It said that open debate and discussion of public issues are vital to a nation's health. So in the end, the judges really had to decide, is the First Amendment truly absolute? And so when thinking of this decision, they just decided 6-3 in favor of the New York Times, stating that the First Amendment is an absolute right, and that all citizens shall have the rights within the First Amendment. So this case was crucial because it set up the guidelines where, the line between unconstitutional and constitutional with regards to the First Amendment. So, example, more recently, Edward Snowden, similar to Daniel Ellsberg, released government classified information on the NSA with regards to their secret spying, which was unconstitutional, and he, in the eyes of the Constitution, has done nothing wrong. And other cases have been said because the First Amendment right is absolute, and although the government might not like what the press is writing about, they have no power to take it away from them. And this is my bibliography.